Here are 10 episodes that showcase why Brian Griffin is a major d in Family Guy. Starting with Scam Yankees. Meg is having a sleepover and Brian listens in and he is annoyed. Apparently they're farting.
Sorry.
Ugh, God, kill me.
Meg asks him to take him to school and he agrees if it means getting them out the house. Patty leaves her gym bag in his car. He brings it in and he spots Patty's body. And let the creep games begin. Brian starts fiending for Patty.
I'm telling you, you wouldn't believe Patty's body. Just a tiny waist, firm butt, great rack.
She's in high school.
I know, and she's in high school.
Meg tells Brian about Patty and he shows up at the mall with Build-A-Bears. And he offers Patty one and wants to split a combo with no drink. Like, you cheap bastard. Meg catches on, but Brian could give a damn. Creep. I mean, she's 18 and he's 7. What is that in dog years, like 49? Anyway.
I'm not like most guys. I can see past that sweater. Speaking of which, why don't we get rid of that big old thing?
He attempts to have intercourse sex with Patty when Meg shows up and spoke some sense into Patty. And he tells her how Brian only wants to take advantage of her. Yeah, you know it's bad when even Stewie, who's a baby, is trying to talk some sense into Brian. Like, bro, how? Next on the list is the Love Sword. I kid you not, that's really the name. Brian's watching the outlaw Josie Wales. Stewie walks in and he catches Clint Eastwood and the Indian becoming blood brothers. Brian explains to him what the process of becoming a blood brother is, and now Stewie wants to do it.
Yes, let's do that. Brian, I want you inside me.
You don't have to say it like that.
Brian agrees to do it, like, seriously, he's a baby. Stewie is happy as he now feels closer to Brian.
I mean, I really feel the bond, Brian. I feel like we're closer now. You know, more connected, more intertwined.
It's the next day and Stewie wakes up and his lip is stuck to the pillow. Apparently Brian gave him her. Stewie goes off on him.
Relax, it's not that big a deal.
Not that big a deal! It's a disgusting, unsightly, unsavory disease and it lasts for life!
Stewie comes clean to Rupert and Chris walks in and tells him that Brian gave him the H2. We're gonna go ahead and call it the H. Stewie and Chris dedicate their life mission to embarrassing Brian.
You know, I'm so glad you finally agreed to go out with me, Jenna.
Me too. I'm having a really nice time. You seem like a great guy.
Yes, thank you. We'll take the table in the corner next to the herb dog.
Oh, hey, Brian. And who's your date? Wow, you must be such a good person to knowingly go out with a riddled dirtbag.
Ew!
Stewie and Chris hacked Brian's Facebook page. Brian caves. He asks what they wanted.
Want to drive your Prius to the end of the block all by myself?
That's it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yay!
Yeah, he's not coming back.
Because, Brian, for the first time in my life, I realized I couldn't trust you. I couldn't trust my own best friend.
And why would you, Stewie? He also banged your wife. In the Marion kind. Mort's getting married and he tells the gang at the Clam they're all invited to his wedding in New Orleans. He booked it on a cancelbarmitzvah.com. The gang invites their families and they all head to New Orleans.
Woohoo! New Orleans! I can't wait to get up on a balcony and bust out the twins. Did you hear what I said, Meg? I said I can't wait to get up on a balcony and bust
Yeah,
out
I heard you.
Meg is sick of her shit. The wedding ends up being extremely f***ed up.
I am so happy to be merging the napkins in my pockets with the napkins in your pockets.
They went on for 2 more minutes and we just don't have the time for that. Throughout the mess, Stewie is loving it and he ordered a woman from the Ukraine to be his wife. Like, seriously, he actually ordered a woman off the internet.
I can't believe this worked. I'm Stewie. I'm going to be your husband.
Zlata.
We're such each other's forever people.
Brian is attempting to talk some sense out of Svetlana from marrying Stewie, and he's actually making sense. Oh, and apparently Stewie paid $200 for her. So basically, he trafficked her, and now he's making her his wife. Right. They're living the married life, and Stewie works at Enterprise, and he is sick of his job. People keep throwing up in their rentals, and Levi won't answer.
Levi?
Zlana wants to make love to Stewie, who keeps pushing her away. Brian comes in looking for Stewie the next day, and he ends up getting seduced with her talking about his book, and he has sex with her. Stewie walks in and catches them in the act, and he smashes Brian's car, and it's honestly sad how he reacts.
Do I even need to ask? Have you had your cooties shot?
Stewie, come on.
Just answer me, man.
Circle, circle, dot, dot. Now I've got the cooties shot.
You can't get it here. It has to be at school.
It's so messed up that Stewie brings Brian and Zlana out to eat to propose the idea of Brian smashing her and Stewie doing all the other parts of marriage, which Brian describes as boring. This one's subjective as to messed up things Brian's done, but I mean, banging your best friend wife is definitely up there, and that can't be the only time he's done it, right?
Ah, my head is swimming. Oh my God, Brian, no!
Wrong. He tried Lois and play it again, Brian. Brian tells Lois his essay won first prize in the New England Rising Writing Contest, and he's gonna be honored at some ceremony.
Wow! Congratulations, Brian!
Meg, please, I'm talking.
Dick. Peter keeps blowing Lois off and Lois is pissed. Her parents are apparently upset with Peter from when he embarrassed Lois at their wedding.
You may now kiss the bride.
Kiss her? I am gonna destroy her.
Brian suggests that they come with him to a ceremony to help their marriage. Peter and Lois needs a babysitter, and with everybody busy and nobody available, they ask Herbert to watch the kids.
Yeah, and it's real easy, I promise. I mean, you've spent time watching children, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, I have.
Now you all know how that played out.
Oh, rats!
Brian and Lois are at the ceremony and Brian starts flirting with Lois. Typical. Peter shows up drunk and Lois is pissed. The next day, Peter blows Lois off again and Brian and Lois pretty much go on a friend date. I'm doing quotations, but you can't see it, but just know I'm doing it. They come back to the hotel and Peter blows Lois off again and they agree to watch a movie and order room service. They watch the movie and he makes his move on Lois and she throws him out of the room. He tells Stewie on the phone what he did. Stewie isn't surprised at all and he takes the opportunity to dog Lois.
Sex.
Of course, what with Chris going before me, I pretty much just walked out of there.
Didn't even have to stoop over. There was even room to twirl a cane as I strolled.
You're exaggerating.
Only a little bit. That's the messed up thing.
Lois tells Peter what happened between her and Brian.
Brian tried to have sex with me.
Was he bigger than me?
Peter goes to the bar to confront Brian and they end up fighting. And I honestly hate how this was an even fight. I just feel like Peter should have beat the hell out of him. Like when Quagmire found out about Brian smashing his dad, he beat the hell out of him. I just feel like the same should have been done here, but hey, that's not the only wife Brian has messed with. He's also ran off with Bonnie in Heartbreak Dog. It's Bonnie's 46th birthday and Joe is embarrassing her in front of everyone.
Well, let's break for presents, but after that I'll show you Susie's birth video, and I'll tell you, she fell out of there like an orange out of an old dress sock.
Bonnie's upstairs crying and Brian hears her and he talks to her, but of course he ends up kissing her. Lois and Peter are hosting a game night with Joe and Bonnie. They're playing charades.
Okay, here we go. Crippled guy, cheating wife of a crippled guy, a dog, something with a dog, dog kiss.
I think that's time. Your turn is over.
Oh, sounds like dog kisses crippled guy's wife at your party. Wait, I know it. The other night at your party, Brian kissed Bonnie.
What?
How the hell do you even guess that? Brian tries to apologize to Joe and Joe just tortures him. He gets his car repossessed and spiked his drink. The gang all host an intervention to tell Joe to ease up on the revenge on Brian, but it ended up being a roast fest.
Yeah, Brian's right. Joe, you're out of control. Even though Brian's been trying to do my wife for years, and on some level I hate him for it. Okay, so we're all in agreement. Bonnie and Brian are terrible people.
Brian spazzes out and they run out together and get a job at a diner. They ended up arguing the whole time. Joe tracked them to the diner and he and Bonnie worked it out.
Wow, I guess just call me Cupid, huh? You're welcome.
Oh, damn it!
Well deserved. But those weren't the only guys in the friend group that he screwed over. He screwed Quagmire's true love Cheryl Teagues and Teagues for two. Peter gets arrested due to a miscommunication from his dry cleaners. Peter thinks Mr. Washy Washy has his shirt.
I know have your shirt.
You have my shirt.
It took him breaking into his house and trying on his shirt, only to find out it wasn't his. Anyways, that was a nice debrief. Brian picks up Peter from the Quahog police station and he runs into a protester named Denise. They hit it off and Brian gets her number. Brian walks into the kitchen and he tells Lois about Denise and Lois is straight grilling him. She doesn't think Denise is nothing special, so he calls her on the phone.
I'll call her right now and ask her out to dinner. Hey, Denise, it's me. Brian Griffin.
Oh boy.
Brian is drinking and Peter comes in and tells him to take Quagmire's class on picking up women. Quagmire is pissed at the idea.
Fine, but you lick yourself once in this class and you're out.
He instructs Brian to hit on a bigger woman.
Sassy! You got me sweating above and below my ass. Let's go, lover!
Okay, what the
Brian tells Stewie about all the things Quagmire has him doing to pick up women.
Hey, who was that fat chick sneaking out of here this morning?
Oh, that was someone I met from class. Bettina.
Ooh, that's way too fancy a name for her. Her name should be Thud or Oof.
Denise goes on a date with Brian, giving him another chance, and he completely blows it being a douche. He goes off on Quagmire and he tells him how his class is a bunch of bull and how he'll never meet the woman of his dreams. Quagmire tells him that the class isn't for picking up women he cares about. Right, because that's classy. It's for getting laid, apparently. Then he told him the story of how he once had the perfect woman, Cheryl Teagues, and that he will always love her. Well, scumbag Brian here decides to have Cheryl Teagues knock on Quagmire's door, then made out with Brian in front of him, and Brian gave him the finger. Like, if there was ever a perfect time, right, to put hands on someone, I just feel like this was it. Brian pulled Cheryl with all of the teachings from Quagmire, which is ironic as hell, and not gonna lie, it's maniacal yet genius. Back at the Griffin's house, Quagmire wants to beat the hell out of Brian, and Peter holds him back like, bruh, seriously? You know how many times he tried to bang your wife, Peter? Brian is out to eat with Cheryl Teagues, and Quagmire comes in with freaking Jillian, Brian's ex-girlfriend.
So, how did you guys get together?
He showed up at my door and said he was a federal boob inspector, and I was gonna tell him to go away, but he had a warrant.
It was a Snickers wrapper, Brian. I held up a Snickers wrapper.
They ended up roasting each other, then they finally fought. The women separated them and broke up with them. Outside the restaurant, Brian thought he made up with Quagmire and he hits him with his car. At this point, I don't even blame him. And this isn't even the only time Brian screwed over Quagmire.
And that is 72 hours. Enjoy your crap hole, dumbass.
You son of a bitch!
He screwed him over in Brian the Closer. Peter and Brian are watching TV and Peter finds Brian's rope toy on the couch and he throws it on the ground and he talks crap about it. And Brian plays with it and now Peter wants it. Like, of course. Peter is doing everything in his power to get the rope from Brian. Peter ties another rope to Brian's rope and he drives off, causing Brian to hang on by his teeth. He hits a fire hydrant and loses all of his teeth. Like, it looked disgusting. The family tries to make him feel comfortable, but they all couldn't stomach it. He asks them to take them to the dentist, and Lois says they're not spending people money on him. That's crazy to me. Brian goes to the bar crying, and Quagmire, for whatever reason, gives him his card to his dentist, who he has an account with for some reason. Brian gets new teeth and everyone loves it. He walks to an open house and this couple think he's the realtor. When the actual realtor shows up, they agree to buy the house. The realtor gets him a job and he becomes a full-time realtor selling to everyone in Quahog, including Jason Voorhees.
So tell me again, where's the lake?
Right there.
And where's the summer camp?
Right over there.
I'll take it.
Brian's making great progress at the office and he gets his biggest task yet. He has to sell a condo in order to become partner at the realty office. Brian overhears Quagmire mentions he has a big bonus from work and he makes his move to con Quagmire into buying the property. He oversells it to Quagmire and he agrees to buy it. Quagmire goes to the property only to find out it's a dump and he only has 72 hours to find Brian and pull out of his deal. He tracks him down to a motel and Brian gives him a fake apology and the time runs out and Quagmire knocks his teeth back out. Yeah. Remember when Brian kissed Meg? Meg comes in crying and Brian is trying to be there for her, but he just couldn't care less. Her backup date shot his brother so he wouldn't have to go with her to the dance. She says she's gonna off herself because she doesn't have a date to the dance.
What if I drove you and walked in with you or whatever?
Brian, will you go with me?
Are you gonna kill yourself if I don't?
Yeah.
Well, then my hands are pretty much tied.
Lois is happy Brian's taking Meg to the dance.
Here she is. Brian, I present to you your polished turd for the evening.
How do I look, Brian?
You sure do, Meg.
They walk in, Brian gets drunk because he doesn't really want to be there. Connie D'Amico comes over and picks on Meg.
You know, Connie, I think I have a theory about why you're such a bitch.
Brian cusses her the hell out and he made out with Meg. The next day, Meg is obsessing over Brian. Stewie put two and two together and Brian admits he kissed Meg. Brian's on the couch and Meg comes over and asks Brian to be her boyfriend. Brian blows her off, but she doesn't take the hint. Brian, Stewie, and Meg all go to the mall and she introduces him to her friend group and he tells her he's not interested in her. Like, bro, what don't you get? She becomes even more obsessive. She bakes him a pie with her hair in it.
Part of me is inside of you, Brian. Do you feel me, Brian? Do you feel me inside of you?
That's not creepy at all. Brian tells Lois what happened.
I may have made out with Meg.
And how Meg became obsessed with him. Brian goes to Meg's room with the help of Garrett Morris. He tells her he doesn't want her for the last time. Meg knocks Brian unconscious and kidnaps him. She ties him to a chair and tries to have sex with him. Yeah, Brian shouldn't have kissed her. She was literally a teenager, but hey, what's worse than that? How about Brian ignoring child neglect to get with Miss Emily and be careful what you fish for? Brian's picking Stewie up from daycare and Stewie is all dirty with paint on him and he vents to Brian about Mrs. Emily. Brian goes to check out the daycare and it's a nightmare in there.
Oh, what happened to that kid? He fell off a stool trying to turn off Maury Povich.
Brian is pissed and he goes to confront Miss Emily and he immediately has a crush on her and he ignores the neglect himself. Dick. Brian comes to check on Miss Emily. She gave Stewie the keys to open up. Brian asks Miss Emily out for lunch. The next day, Stewie comes in the house and his arm is now dislocated and he wants to tell Lois what happened.
You are not going anywhere. I finally have a date with Miss Emily tomorrow, and I'm not going to let you or anybody else get in my way until I have seen every inch of her naked. Do you even hear yourself?
Wow. Brian pops Stewie's arm back in place. He goes to pick up Miss Emily the next day and he finds out that she has a boyfriend.
What you did to these kids? There is a special place in hell for people like you.
And last but certainly least, Brian's wife. In the episode Married with Cancer, Brian's sneaking out to go to the club. Before he goes, the family roasts him, of course, on his fedora. Well deserved. Brian's striking out with all the women until he meets Jess. She tells him she has cancer. They go back to her place and they have sex, of course, and Brian helps scratch everything she wants to do on her bucket list off. It's all just sex. He brings her to the Griffin's house and they made fun of her, as you can imagine. You already know what for. She passes out in a pizza place parking lot and they go to the hospital to find out Jess only has 2 weeks left to live, and he asks her to marry him. Brian actually wants to do something great for once. Or at least that's what I thought until he received all the attention he was getting from marrying her.
You know, sometimes at night, I just watch Jess sleep for hours. And I go, hey, you alive? And she says, yeah. And then I go, all right, good.
Even Quagmire tells Brian he's a good guy and wants to throw him a bachelor's party. The woman came in and flirted with Brian and now wants him. At the wedding, Brian and Jess get officially married when Jess's doctor comes in and tells everyone she's gonna live. Brian is shocked. Jess starts overeating, farting all the time, and ended up gaining weight. They're forced to move into a rundown apartment.
Yeah, we didn't bother to register for gifts because she was supposed to die.
Brian becomes severely depressed. They're out to eat and Jess chokes on nachos.
Damn it, I've got one song by Haim on my phone, and every time I try to type Heimlich,
He practically lets her die. You can't convince me otherwise. At her funeral, she comes back to life and Brian cries. Next episode is a part 2. And in this one, we're only going to talk about the fact that he tried to burn the house down and fake his own death. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video, you beautiful people. Make sure you like the video, subscribe if you're new, turn on the post notification bell so you won't miss any more videos, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.